Hey, what's up, guys? This is the third part of our e-commerce scraper project. If you are enjoying the videos, please click on like and subscribe on this channel because this is very helpful for me. With all that said, let's get started. In the last part, we got almost all of the parameters we need to build our URL. The only left is the user agent encoded. So let's write the code to build it. I will go here above right after we created the headers dictionary and paste some code. Here we have it. We need to import this method URL encode. You can click on this bulb and add from this library here URL lib.parse. Okay, and to encode our user agent, we have to create this dictionary with the key user agent. The key actually doesn't matter, okay, but you need to have a key. And then we have the headers here, which are gonna be the actual user agent, which we got here above. And with that, we can use the URL encode method using the dictionary as a parameter. This parameter here we don't need actually, and I will put a breakpoint here and run the code in the debugger mode. So here we have the dictionary. I will put here, as you can see, user agent and then the actual user agent. Now I will click here to step into. Then we will have the user agent encoded. But we don't need this part here, user agent equal. Let me go on the original URL first, and you can see we already have this part, user agent equal. We only need the actual user agent encoded. So that's the reason why here below we use the split method to remove this initial part. And then we set again the value of this user agent encoded variable using the equal symbol here as a separator and only getting the last part. So again, we will have, let me actually copy this and paste it here. You can see that we have a list and the first item is user agent. This is what we do not want. And then the second item is the user agent encoded. Okay, so let me click to step into here again. Now I will copy the user agent encoded and you can see that we have what we need. Now let's go on the original link and copy the user agent encoded and paste in Notepad. Then I will also copy this user agent encoded we got from our code. And then on this URL decoder website, which I showed in the last video, I will paste the user agents encoded here. First, the original user agent. Then you can see it decoded here below. Let me paste again in Notepad, the decoded user agent. Then let's copy this second one, which we got from our code. I will paste here. And we have also it decoded. And we can compare to see if everything is working. So I will write the coded versions, and you can see that we have this plus symbol in both strings, also this parenthesis here. And of course, the user agents are different. So one is Linux, the other one is Windows. But you can see that the pattern is the same. We have plus symbols, open and then closing parentheses in both, also the forward slash. So it's working perfectly. And then with that, we now have everything to build our API URL. So I will paste more code here below. And this is basically a method to actually scrape the JSON data from the subcategory and write it to a JSON file. And I will explain this method. You can see here that we have many parameters: the subcategory ID, the API key, the visitor ID, the subcategory name, the category name, the offset, and the maximum number of products to scrape, which is set to 200. The offset is set to 0. First, we need this category name, and I will have to make a modification in the first file we created, which is this here, get subcat URL Selenium, because it created this subcategories CSV file here, which has two columns, name and link, but we need three columns. We need name, link, and then actually here it's not written. I will just put category here. That's the third column, which is gonna be the main category. So I will paste this snippet here to get the main category using this CSS selector. And with the main category, I will first go here on right row and write category. And then here below, I will just put main category, okay? To write the main category in each line of the CSV file. Now let me write two here and run the code again. And let's see if it's working or not. It opens the target website, then it's gonna click on the show all 21 button. Okay, now let's see if the file is created. Here we have subcategories 2, and then we have now the third column category, which is men's clothing for each subcategory here. With that, now I will explain how this method works. So here we have a variable to count the total products scraped, which is set to 0 initially. Then the page ID encoded here, you already know. Here we have a flag, which is a variable that will be either true or false, okay, a Boolean variable, and basically to tell if the API request was successful or not. And then we have the main for loop, which will iterate through the pages. We use this range method to set the amount of iterations we want, which is basically how many times we want to execute the code inside the for loop. And in this case, we are limiting it to 10 executions. So as you can see in the definition of this range method, we have parameters start, stop, and step. We start on 1 and we go up to 10 plus 1, which is 11, but it's exclusive, so 11 is not included. And the step is set to 1, so we go one by one. Let me write here for you to see better. We will start in 1, then 2, then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. 11 is excluded, so we will go only up to 10. And each iteration in this for loop will be basically a request we will send to a different page of the subcategory selected. Then inside the loop, first we get a random user agent and encode it as we did before. And after that, we build the API link with all the parameters and then start sending requests. I created a logic to try at least 5 times to send a request to a page. And if no attempt works, then we skip to the next page. And of course, for each request, we will vary the user agent. So we have this for loop, which iterates from 0 up to 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, okay? And then we use try except structure. First, we use a random delay to disguise the bot, okay? So it's recommended to use a delay. I set a delay between 1 second and 3 seconds, okay? Actually, it's not 3, it's 2.9999 and ad infinitum, if I can put that way, right? Here, I'm just printing the delay. Then we actually use the delay using time.sleep, and I will have to import the library. Now it's imported. And then we send the request using the headers we got before. And if everything goes well, this code will continue here and we will break the for loop. But if we don't get a successful response, our exception code will start. And here first we verify if I is not equal 4. And if I is equal to 4, this means that we already tried 5 times. So we will just set this flag to false because we were not able to send a successful request and then break. When we use break here, we are also breaking the for loop. And if I is not equal to 4, the code below will run, okay? First, we print here that the request failed, and then we get a random user agent again, because the problem may be on the user agent, like the target website already blocked a certain user agent. So we use the same logic as before, and then build again the API link. And that's it. Here you can see that it's the end of the try except structure. So basically here it will try 5 times to send a request. If a request is successful, it will break the for loop. It can be the first request, the second, the third, the fourth, or even the last one, okay? And if no request is successful, it will set this flag to false and also break the for loop. And then we have the code after the for loop. Let me actually close, not hide the for loop here. And you can see that after it, we verify if the flag is false. And if this flag is false, we will print request was not successful, continuing to the next page and set it again to true. And we will increase the offset by 24 to actually go to the next page. Then we use continue to skip the current iteration. Basically, we skip the next part of the loop, this part here, and we start from the beginning again because we are looping through the pages using this for loop here. So it will start again getting the user agent and then doing everything it did before. Right, this would happen if the requests were not successful. But for most cases, this will not happen. Actually, it never occurred to me while running this script. Down below, we have the code for a successful request. We use this point.json method to turn the response into a JSON object. And with that, we can work with this object like we work with a Python dictionary. So we can get the page number by following this path here. I will copy this current page index and then go on the JSON file we saved before and search for it. And here we have it as I already showed you. And above we have the same path as we are using here because we turned the response into a JSON object. And in the same way, we are able to get the number of products inside the page because here on the JSON object, we have the products list as I also showed before. And each item is for a product. So if we get the length of this list, we are able to know how many products the page contains. Then we use the length method with the JSON object and just following the path until we reach the products list. I think in this way is better to visualize. Then we also have the total products scraped, which is gonna be the total products scraped plus the number of products in page. This variable starts, of course, as 0, as you can see here at the beginning of the method. And then in each iteration, we add to it just to know how many products we have already scraped, okay? Below, we verify if it's the first page, and if this condition is true, we get the total amount of pages for the current subcategory. Because as I said before, there are subcategories with just a few pages, and for these subcategories, we will have less than the total amount of products we want to scrape. I will again copy this index here and search in the JSON object, and you can see that we have 50 pages for this subcategory. So it has more products than the maximum amount we want to scrape. Now getting back to the code, we have the file name, which basically is gonna be the subcategory ID. Then we have this underscore on page, and we put the page number here and .json. And this is because we will write the JSON object we got from our request into a file. And by using this f-string, we can organize the name by subcategory ID and page number. Then here below, we actually open the file, which is in this folder here. I have already created a folder for the products pages, and we use the file name here, of course. We open it in the right mode and also have to put the encoding as UTF-8 to do not have problems with some characters like the quote symbol. And before writing to the file, we add two more pair of key and values here. First, we add a key to the subcategory name and then its actual value. And the same thing for the category name. And finally, here below, we use the point to write method to write in the file. And inside it, we use the JSON dumps method to turn the JSON object into a string. As you can see here, serialized object to a JSON formatted string. Then we put the object here, which is the variable JSON page. We set this ensure ASCII to false because we don't want to be limited by ASCII characters. As you can see here in the description, if ensure ASCII is false, then the return value can contain non-ASCII characters, okay? So to do not have problems, we set it to false. Then we have the indentation and we set it to 4. And in this way, the files will be already formatted properly. If you don't set this parameter, you will have to manually open each JSON file, click with the right button of the mouse, and click to format document. And it would be a lot of work. So we just set it here and we automate this part. Then below, we print file name created and increase the offset by 24 to go to the next page. And finally, we have some conditional statements at the bottom of our function. First, we have if count page is greater or equal than the total products page, we break the loop because this variable here will contain the maximum amount of pages of the current subcategory. As you can see here above, we get it from the JSON object. And if we reach this amount for the subcategories with just a few pages, we want to stop sending requests to the following pages because there won't be any following page. And this break here will basically break this for loop here, which is iterating through the pages, and as a result, it will also break the execution of the method. Then after checking this condition, we have another one. If total products scraped is greater or equal max products to scrape, we also break the main for loop and the method, because this variable here is counting the number of products we already scraped, and if we reach the maximum amount we set before, we want the method to stop. Okay, now we have to call the method. So I will go at the beginning and copy it again. And then after it, I will paste get products from subcategory. And we need to set the arguments. Let's see the subcategory ID. We have a list containing all subcategory IDs from men's clothing. I will just use the first item of this list. So I will write here subcat IDs and then index 0. Now let's see the API key. Let me search to see here above. Actually, this part I will comment because we are setting everything here to the default value, if I can put that way. And above, we are getting the value of the API key. So we will use this variable here. I will just write API key equals API key, okay? And then let's see the visitor ID. We also have it in this variable called visitor ID. So let's do the same thing. Visitor ID equals visitor ID, okay? Let me organize this code in a better way. And then we have the subcat name, which we have to read from the CSV file subcategories. And it's the first column here. Okay, so let's go to the part where we were reading the CSV file, and we can create a new list here, subcat names. And in the same way we did with the URLs, we can write here subcat, subcats names. Let me put an S here, dot append. And in this case, append the column number 0. That's why we put row and then here in the index 0. I will save the file, then put a breakpoint here below and run it in the debugger mode. It's raising an error. I think I have to comment this line here to run the code. Let's try it again. Now it's working. Then we can copy subcats names and paste here in the debug console. And you can see that we have a list, and each item of this list is the name of a subcategory. We are having some encoding issues, but I think when writing to the JSON file at the end, they will be fixed. I don't know. I will have to test. Or actually, I can just set the encoding here and run it again. Okay, so encoding UTF-8, and let's rerun the code. Write our list. Let's see. Let's open it, and then the issues are gone. The single code is appearing. Okay, so that's it. In this way, we are getting the subcategory names to write them in the JSON file. Now I will remove this comment here, and then in subcat name, I will use the list, subcat names on the index 0 here again. Actually, subcats. No, I think subcats is strange. The right way is subcat names. I just changed the name of the variable again using F2, and then you can see that here at its declaration it also changed. And I will use F2 to change subcat URLs to just subcat URLs. Now it's better. Then let's get back to our method, and we also need the category name. In this file here, which is the first CSV file we created, we don't have the category name, so we will read from the second one, which is subcategories 2. Then I just have to add the 2 to its name, and I will create a new list, cat names. Actually, we don't really need to create this list right now because every subcategory here is from the same main category, which is men's clothing. But just to keep our code organized, because we could be reading a CSV file containing many different categories. And in the same way I did before, I will write here cat names dot append, and now it's gonna be the row 2. And with that, we have to add the index 0 of the list in the method. Actually, it's cat names, then index 0 again. It's a little bit strange to visualize. Now it's better. Cat names, index 0. The offset, I will keep it 0. The maximum products to scrape, I will keep it 200. Actually, I don't need to write 0 and 200 here. I don't even need to write these arguments because by default they are already set both to 0 and 200 respectively. Okay, everything's set and we are ready to run our code. I'll put a breakpoint at the beginning of the method to see the value of the parameters, and let's run the code in the debug mode. We got an exception here. Name of set is not defined. Let's check it. Okay, this is basically the API link for the first request we want to send before actually calling the method. Here above, I set before the offset value to 0, but I commented it, so now I will uncomment it and let's try to run the code again. Now we don't have any errors and we can put the cursor on each parameter to see its value. Let me move this so you can see I put the cursor on the subcat IDs list and you can see that the first index here is G23GM, and this will be the subcategory we will send the requests. I can copy this list with the index 0 and write on the debug console, and you can see that we have the same value, G23GM. Then we can see the API key. Here it is, the visitor ID, the subcat name. Subcat name is list, and we are getting the index 0 again. So men's clothing deals. Let's copy and write in the debug console again. Then after that, we have the category name, and we are getting it from this list, which has all indexes with the same value. This string here, men's clothing, and that's it. Okay, so now let's just run this code. I will stop it and then run in the normal mode. Let's press Ctrl F5. Okay, you can see we are sending the requests and we have the response code. Then we have our first JSON file created, the second one for the page 2. Here you can also see the headers we are using. Page 3 is created, page 4, 5, 6, and finally page 7. You can also see the delay we use it for each request. You can see that it varies, of course, because we are using the random method. Then let's open the folder with the files. Actually, they are not inside the folder we want. I made some mistake, and you can see that their names are also wrong because we have these one product pages in every name, and this is not what I want. But I can open the files and you can see the data inside them. You can see the end of its name, page 1 for this file, page 2 for the second one, and so on. And inside the file, we can search for the products list. Here we have it. And you can see that in the first page, we have 30 products. Let's see in the second page, we have more 30 products also, and so on until in the last page, page 7 for the subcategory. Let's see the amount of products. Here we have also 30. We also have 30 products. So there's probably another mistake because if you do the math 7 times 30, you will get 210. And the default value for the max products to scrape is 200. So there is a mistake in our logic, but this will not be a problem because in the next script we will write, I will parse every JSON file and then get only the data we want and up to the maximum amount of products we set. Now I will fix the problem with the file names. Let's see. In the part we open the file, actually let me do this, and now it's better to see. We forgot to write a forward slash here, and that's it. Pretty simple. So now the files will be created with the right name and inside this folder. Then I will iterate over the list of subcategory IDs and start sending requests to many subcategories because we sent requests only to a single subcategory. And then we got 7 JSON files as a result. We will also need to iterate over the subcategory names list. And if we had different main categories, we would also have to iterate over the categories list. But this is not the case now because the only category we have is men's clothing. Okay, so the only parameters we need to vary here is the subcategory ID and subcategory name. All others remain the same: the API key, the visitor ID, the category name, the offset, and the max products to scrape. Then let's minimize the method and start iterating over two lists. To do that, we can create a zip object. I can write for data in zip and then subcat IDs and subcat names. Category names will not be necessary because of the reason why I explained it. And with that, we can access the information we want using index. So index 0 is gonna be the subcategory ID and index 1 the subcategory name. I can put them in the same line doing this. Okay, now let's run the code to see. I commented the part of the method here, and here is the result. You can see we have the subcategory ID and its name, and we can go in our CSV file to verify if this data is correct. So let's take this first one here, open the subcategories to CSV, now search inside it, and you can see that it's here in the second line, the match, and here we have G23GM and men's clothing deals. Okay, so it's right. The second one is sweaters. Let's check it. You can see in the line 3, and again, it's right. The next one is tops. Let's search. You can see again in the fourth line, we have tops and the corresponding subcategory ID. Let's go to the bottom and get the last one here, men's accessories. Search it again, and you can also see that it's in the last line, men's accessories. Now, instead of data in this for loop, I can write subcat ID and subcat name, okay? And it will work in the same way. Let's run again the code, and here it is. Now I will put the method inside the for loop. Let me hide this, press Alt and Z. And the only things we need to change is, of course, the subcategory ID. I will write here subcat ID, and then the subcategory name. And with that, we can send requests to all subcategories of the CSV file. This CSV file here, we have a total of 21 subcategories. But to do not take too much time, I will limit it only to the first 5 subcategories. So I will slice this list here, and it will go from the index 0 up to the index 4, totalizing 5 different subcategories. With that, I will remove this breakpoint and start sending the requests. Actually, I made a mistake. I cannot use this slice method with zip objects, so I will use range 5 here inside the zip. This basically creates a list from 0 to 4 with the length of 5, okay? And the zip object is limited by the shorter iterable. So the shorter iterable is gonna be this list with 5 items, which means 5 iterations. Let's try it again. Then I also need to add another variable here. I will only write aux, its name doesn't matter. Now let's run the script again. It sent the first request to get the API key and the visitor ID. Now it created the first page, the second one, JSON object, the third, fourth, and this is for the first subcategory, sixth, seventh, and now we will start creating files for the second subcategory, which is sweaters. So page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, 7, and it's over. Now going into the tops subcategory. So I will wait until all subcategories are scraped and then come back. Okay, it's over. We scraped 5 different subcategories. The last one is jeans. Okay, now let's see the files. These ones here I will already delete. And then we have our folder, and inside it all the files. We can open them to visualize the data. We have the product list in every one of them. And what we have to do now is to parse these files to get only what we want, because there are a lot of information here we have no interest, and by parsing these files we can put the data we want into a CSV file. So in the next video I will show how to do that. And the hardest part is already done. Now it's much easier because we don't need to send requests, we don't need to rotate user agents anymore, we don't need to use random delays to disguise our bot. We just need to parse the JSON files and put the data we want into a CSV file. So with all that said, if you enjoyed this video, please click on like and subscribe to this channel, and comment here below your thoughts about this project or if you have any question. And that's it. Thank you so much, guys. See you in the next video.